Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this video is going to be about my more personal life because I'm trying to be as transparent as possible, and I've just been going through a lot as far as just trying to accept things for what they are. So for those of you who may not know me, my mom died when I was about 13 years old, and this is my first time like really ever talking about like my experiences on camera. I kind of wrote a little bit about it in my blog if you follow my blog, but this is just my first time really just going for it. And one thing I've learned is that the more I talk about it, the more free I feel, and it seems to be more exhilarating to me, and it just makes me feel as light as a feather. So basically growing up, my mom had cirrhosis of the liver and she had diabetes. Her cirrhosis of the liver was just from, regular. Is that the more I talk about it, the more free I feel, and it seems to be more exhilarating to me, and it just makes me feel as light as a feather. So basically growing up, my mom had cirrhosis of the liver and she had diabetes. Her cirrhosis of the liver was just from, regular alcohol abuse, and growing up she really struggled with drugs. She was really into crack really strong during the crack era, so she just had a rough life. But at the end of the day, like, that didn't take away anything from her because she still was an amazing woman. She really did everything possible to make me feel like I had the world even if I didn't. She was a great person all around. She was really selfless, and talking about it makes me teary-eyed, but I really miss her. And it's been about, it's been about 12 years. She died in 2005, so it's been a long time. I use this to talk about like my last days with her, because when I think about my time with my mom, that always replays in my mind like what I could have did differently, if I could have changed something. And the fact of the matter is, like, it was just destiny, just fate, and that there's nothing that I could have did to get in the middle of that. But like I said, I always go back to that day and just replay it, and I always like kind of still get to that space where I was just like, dang, I wish I would have did something different, or I blame myself. And at the end of the day, I'm just a regular 13-year-old girl, and a lot of stuff I don't think I really understood, or some things I couldn't really rationalize. But now that I'm older and I'm looking back at it, back one day, I'm just like, wow. I recall going to see my mom in the hospital because she had got really sick, and her liver was failing. So at this point I knew that it was serious because, like I said, I was about 13 years old, so I could rationalize it because at this point she was in the hospital for like a week. So I'm like, okay, something's going on. And at that point, I was just staying with my brother and my niece mom, and we were just trying to kind of wait things out to see what was going to happen. So she ended up getting super sick or whatever, and her health just started deteriorating while she was in the hospital. And I remember, going to visit her those last couple of days, whatever the case may be, and just thinking like, things will get better. She'll be okay. Like, I know it's something serious because she's been here, but I didn't really think that would be like my last week or my last times with her. Like, I just didn't think that was it. And like I said, I'm sure that goes back to my naive mind of just being a kid and not. I remember wanting to go to a field trip, and I wanted to go, but I didn't want to go because she was sick and she was in the hospital. I was in 6th grade, but it was like a field trip everybody was going on, so I was a kid. I wanted to go, but like I said, no one really knew what was going on except for a couple of my teachers. Knew she was in the hospital from my brother and them telling her what was going on, but no one really knew like the depth of what was going on, like, at home for me, because average 6th graders weren't going through stuff like that, like losing their parents. I'm not saying that's not anybody's story, but I didn't. have any friends who were going through things that I was going through, who I could talk to about it. So my brother went to the hospital before I went to my field trip, and just going to see my mom, and I just was telling her that I wanted to go but not really, and she just was like, no, go, I'll see you when I get back. And I just like, okay, she'll see me when I get back. So I just was like, okay, like that's cool, whatever. And I just told her I love you, and it was like a I'll see you later thing. And that was it. So I gave my mom a kiss, I left, went to the field trip. So that day we went to Kings Bend, had a good time, whatever. Actually, we went to Six Flags. Yeah, we went to Six Flags in Maryland. We went to Six Flags in Maryland. And like I said, I went to the field trip, had a good time, texting my brother back and forth because he had got me a phone, and he was just keeping me updated, saying she was okay, blah, blah, blah. So I remember later that night, came home, and we went to the hospital. But when we went to the hospital, I don't know, it just was different. Even the ride there, like, my brother didn't really say too much, my niece's mom didn't really say too much. So, I don't know, it just was different, but I didn't really think much of it. On the way there, we just kind of talked about how's my field trip or whatever. So, when we got to the hospital, I noticed that my mom was hooked up to a machine. And at the time, like I said, I didn't think anything of it. She just looked sleek to me. It was the first time I talked to her, and I really didn't get a response. Like I said, I just knew she was sick. She wasn't feeling good. She was hooked up to machines. I just didn't think much of it. I was like, she's tired, she's resting, she's asleep. So, I gave her a kiss, told her I loved her, and that was it. We left the hospital. So my brother I think he ended up leaving the hospital with one of his friends, and I rode home with my niece's mom, and I remember, like, it was around the corner, so we probably were in the car. My house was around the corner from the hospital, so we probably was in the car for a max of like 5 to 6 minutes. And I remember pulling in the driveway, and she cut the car off, and I went to go get out the car, and she didn't move. So I was just like, sometimes, I didn't think much of that either, because sometimes we'll sit in the car and we'll talk. So, she just was telling me what was going on. And like, my mom had died earlier that day, but they didn't want to tell me because I was at my field trip. So I don't know. They just didn't say anything. So she ended up telling me that she died, and when I saw her, she was on a life machine. We kind of just sat in the driveway, and I cried, but I don't think that it wasn't real to me at that moment, and I still don't think that I really grasped the concept of what being on like a life machine means. And it's kind of like they're dead, but they kind of just hook them up to the machine and let them, help them breathe and stuff, so everybody can come say their final goodbyes. So that was my last time seeing her, and before the funeral. I wasn't mad, but I don't know. If I could explain how I feel, I would say that I just wish that, like, I didn't go on my field trip. And for a long time, I really, really blamed myself. Like, dang, why did I go? Like, why did I do that? Because I just was like, that was time that, my mom, I didn't have to go on a field trip, but I was like a 13-year-old girl, so I was just being a kid. I went, and she told me it was okay. So, like I said, for a long time, I blamed myself for that. And as I got older, I just had to understand that everything was in good timing, and I was happy that one of the last things that we said was, I'll see you later, and I love you. As I got older, I really, really grew to appreciate that. And, I just, if I could say anything, I would say that I appreciate the people who, as being a kid, like going through something traumatic like that, because I feel like when we're kids and we really can't rationalize stuff and stuff like that happens that's life changing to us, you know, it's confusing because you can't make sense of it because you don't really have anybody else to talk to who knows what you're going through. Because I couldn't have a conversation with other kids about my mom dying like I was in 6th grade. So I really struggled with that, and like I said, as I got older, I just grew to appreciate the things that I did have control over. And I wish if I could get that time back, I would do a lot of things differently, but you know, everything happens for a reason. And knowing what I know now about death, like, I'm okay with it, and I'm okay with how things happen. It's just a lot to go back and replay that in my mind, because I don't often let myself do that or go there, especially like now that I'm in the space where I'm in now. So I just always said that I wanted to be an example to somebody and share my story with somebody and be what I wish that I had. Like, I wish that I had somebody to talk to and let them know, like, it's okay, like, people go through things. And as I got older and when I got to college, I met a ton of other people who you know, who experienced some of the same things that I experienced, or people who just were understanding, and it just felt good to know that I wasn't alone, like losing a parent. Because growing up when I was 13 years old, like, I thought that was like the end of the world. Like, you know, it was weird. I didn't embrace it because I thought it was just like something that didn't happen often. So I just say, like, life's always gonna throw things at you, and sometimes you're not gonna be able to understand them and make sense of them, but just really appreciate the journey, and whatever life throws at you, take it, and just know that everything happens for a reason. So I hope that my story can help someone grow and just remember that it's okay, and you know, don't ever feel like you're alone, because you always have someone to talk to and you're never alone. So I just hope that I help somebody, and that's my goal in life. And I really feel like my purpose is to talk to other young girls and just let them know that, you know, they're not alone, and you know, you're beautiful and things like that. So that's my life story, a little bit of background about losing my mom at 13. And I just want to tell y'all that for those of you who read my blog and just kind of follow my story and provided me with great feedback, like, thank you, because y'all really gave me the push to keep telling my story and to keep sharing. And I don't know where this is going to take me or what's going to happen or what's going to come from this, but I just feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I hope that it helps somebody, and I love you guys.